CCS CCA rules 1965. CCS CCA rules have been introduced in the year 1965 on 1st of December. Now let us see what are CCS CCA rules 1965. The full form of CCS CCA rules is Central Civil Services Classification, Control and Appeal Rules 1965. Discipline and efficiency among the government servants will be improved by the CCS CCA rules. CCS CCA rules 1965 are Central Civil Service rules that deal in detail with the procedure to be followed in disciplinary cases against government servant that are framed in conformity with the provisions of Article 311 of Constitution of India. These rules act as important tools to enforce and maintain discipline and efficiency among the government servants. We know there are conduct rules 1964, and if there is any lapse on the part of the government servant and if there is any violation of those conduct rules, based on this CCS CCA 1965, action can be initiated on the government official to maintain discipline and bring in efficiency among the government servants. These Central Civil Service rules are applicable to every government servant, including every civil government servant in the defences, but shall not apply to the railway servant, and it shall not apply to the All India Services Casual Employment. In the Department of Post, it is not applicable to the GDS, that is Gramin Dak Sevaks, and for those daily rated staffs and contingencies. Any lapses in the procedural part in following the CCS CCA rules 1965 while conducting an inquiry in disciplinary cases are often vitiated by the Honorable Courts of Law. So, due care has to be taken by the inquiry authorities and the disciplinary authorities in strictly following these rules while taking up the disciplinary cases. So, this is all about CCS CCA rules, definition and its applicability. There is a disclaimer here. This training material is for the use in training of the officials. It should not be referred as guidelines of the government. In case of any variance in this training material, the government guidelines, rules and laws shall prevail. Now let us see what is classification of services. There are 3 C's in Central Civil Services. First one is the classification, then control, then appeal. So now let us see what is classification of services. The Central Civil Service of Union shall be classified as follows. They are classified as Group C in the pay scale, in the pay level of level 1 to level 5 in 7th CPC, and Group B, that is level 6 to level 9, and Group A from the level 10 to 18, and the apex scale will also be in the level 18. This is basically the classification of services. They are classified into 3 groups, that is Group A, Group B and Group C. As you have seen the levels now, they are classified as such. Now let us see the appeal part. In the CCA, second C is control. First C is classification, we have seen it. The second C is control and third one A is appeal. We know that there are 2 different authorities for every government servant. One will be the appointing authority, the other one will be the disciplinary authority. Generally, the President of India will be the appointing authority for the Group A officers. As we have seen, Group A, Group B and C. In that Group A officers, the appointing authority will be the President of India, Honorable President of India. And for other groups, Group B and Group C, there will be naturally same appointing authority and disciplinary authority also. In some cases, it may vary. Naturally, it will be both the appointing authority and disciplinary authority will be the same. And there will be also an appellate authority above the disciplinary authority to deal with the appeals. That is why it is called appeal. And we also find different personnel while dealing with the disciplinary cases. Under Rule 14 of CCS CCA 1965, any official can be charge sheeted if he does any misconduct or violates any rule in that sense. Then such officer is called charged officer. That is, an official who has been charge sheeted is called charged officer. And there will be a defense assistant. He is one who defends the case of the charged officer. So he can be a retired government servant or a government servant, as the case may be. He can assist the charged officer in proving the charge sheet against him, in disproving the charge sheet against him. Then there will be set of other 2 people. That is, one is inquiry officer and the other one is presenting officer. Inquiry officer is an officer who is appointed by the disciplinary authority to inquire into the disciplinary case against the charged official. So, the inquiry officer will inquire into the disciplinary case, and that means he plays the role of a judge. And the presenting officer is also appointed by the disciplinary authority to present the disciplinary case against the charged official. Here, the presenting officer plays the role of a lawyer for the government. He will play the role of a lawyer for the government. That means his role is to prove the charges against the charged official. What is the role of the defense assistant? The defense assistant will be disproving the charges framed against the charged official. That means he is a defense assistant is basically maybe taken as a construed as a lawyer for the charged officer. Here one more thing is that whenever the presenting officer is a CBI or a lawyer, then naturally the defense assistant will also be allowed to be a lawyer. These charged officer, defense assistant, inquiry officer, presenting officer, these are all cases when during the inquiry process of a Rule 14 case. Naturally, an inquiry is conducted under Rule 14 case. And one more thing you have to remember here is that about the Article 311 specified. Under Article 311, dismissal, removal or reduction in rank of persons employed in civil capacities under the union or a state, it deals with that aspect, and no person who is a member of civil service of union or an all India service or a civil service of state or holds a civil post under union or a state shall be dismissed or removed by an authority subordinate to that by which he was appointed. Say suppose he was appointed by an SSP and now that division has been downgraded to an SP. Now this SP cannot go ahead with the dismissal or removal or reduction in rank for the officer because he has not appointed him earlier. So that should be well taken care of before proceeding the case. Now let us see what are the minor penalties that can be imposed. The following penalties for good and sufficient reasons as herein are provided be imposed on a government servant, namely minor penalties. What are the minor penalties? The first one is censure. That means he can be issued with a censure. This is a statutory penalty. And the second one is withholding of his promotion. Whatever promotion he is going to get, either the next level, if he is an MTS, his promotion to the cadre of postman or a PA can be withheld. The third one is recovery from his pay of whole or part of pecuniary loss caused by him to the government by negligence or breach of orders. So pecuniary loss created by him can be recovered from the pay of the government servant by negligence or breach of orders. The third A is reduction to a lower stage in the time scale of pay by one stage for a period not exceeding 3 years without cumulative effect and not adversely affecting his pension. As this is a minor penalty, it cannot go beyond 3 years and it should be without cumulative effect and not adversely affecting the pension. Reduction to a lower stage in the time scale of the pay by one stage. The fourth one is withholding of increments of pay. That means his increments can be withheld either with cumulative effect or without any cumulative effect. It is up to the disciplinary authority to decide what penalty can be imposed. So these are basically the four minor penalties that can be imposed under Rule 16. Now let us see what are the major penalties. Save as provided for Clause 3A, reduction to lower stage in the time scale of pay for a specified period with further directions as to whether or not the government servant will earn increments of pay during the period of such reduction and whether on the expiry of such period the reduction will or not have the effect of postponing the future increments of his pay. We have seen 3A as a minor penalty wherein the reduction of to a lower stage in the time scale for 1 year. Here it can be for a specified period. That means say 2 years, 3 years, or it can be like that. And that order should mention. That order must mention whether or not this government servant will earn increments of pay during such reduction or whether on such expiry of the period the reduction will or will not have the effect of postponing the future increments. This should be mentioned in the order of penalty. The sixth one is reduction to lower time scale of pay, grade, post or service for a period to be specified in order of penalty, which shall be a bar to the promotion of government servant during such a specified period to the time scale of pay, grade, post or service from which he was reduced with a direction as to whether or not on promotion on expiry of said specified period, a period of reduction to time scale of pay, grade, post or service shall operate to postpone future increments of his pay, and if so, to what extent? And B, that is, the government servant shall regain his original seniority in the higher time scale of pay, grade, post, or service. So this is basically the reduction to the lower time scale of the pay. Earlier it was reduction to lower stage in the time scale. Now it is reduction. This is more than that. It is reduction to the lower time scale of pay or grade or post. And you have to, the disciplinary authority has to specifically mention in the order of penalty whether it will be a bar for promotion during the such period of time scale of pay or post or service. And it should also clearly specify whether or not on promotion of the expiry of such a period, the period of reduction shall operate to postpone future increments. If so, to what extent? And whether the government servant shall regain his seniority in the higher time scale, post of pay, grade, post or service. That also should be mentioned. Now let us see the remaining three major penalties. The one is compulsory retirement. This can also be given as a punishment. Last but one is removal from service, that is removal from service, which shall not be a disqualification for future employment under government. Any government servant who has been removed from service, it is not a disqualification for future employment under the government. He may try for the other government employment. The other one is dismissal from service, which shall ordinarily be disqualification for future employment under government servant. And the last one is dismissal from service. If an official is dismissed from service, it will ordinarily be a disqualification for future employment. He cannot get the future government employment. These are these 5 major penalties that can be given. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 can be given to a government servant in the central government. Now let us see the charge sheet. Whenever no order imposing of any penalties specified in the clause 5 to 9, that means the major penalties of rule 11 shall be made except for an inquiry held as far as may be in the manner provided in the rule and rule 15, or in the manner provided in Public Servants Enquiries Act, where such inquiry is held under the act. So whenever you want to proceed with the disciplinary case, then inquiry under rule 14 is necessary. So the first step is to issue charge sheet. Whenever it is proposed to hold an inquiry against a government servant under this rule, under rule 15, the disciplinary authority shall drop or cause to drop the substance of imputations of misconduct or misbehavior into a definite and distinct articles of charge. So that is called charge sheet. And the other one is, in the charge sheet it also contains the statements of articles and details of misconduct, and a statement of imputations of misconduct or misbehavior in support of each article of charge, which shall contain a statement of relevant facts including any admission or confession by the government servant. And the third one is all the list of documents by which and the list of witnesses by whom the articles of charge are proposed to be sustained. So these are the 4 elements in the charge sheet. First will be the statement of articles, that means the charges framed against them. The second one is the details of misconduct, that means the statement of articles will be elaborated, how the incident has happened, how that, if it is a fraud case, how it has come to light, what inquiry has been reviewed, what is that it has been revealed in the preliminary inquiry. Those things will be detailed in the details of misconduct. It will be narrated. And the list of documents means the list of documents by which the charge sheet is supported will be attached, and the list of witnesses will also be given. That will enable the disciplinary authority to prove the charges against the delinquent official. Now let us see some important rulings in the CCS-CCA rules 1965. The first rule is rule 10. Rule 10 deals with the suspension of a government servant. When a disciplinary proceeding against him is contemplated, he can be placed under suspension under rule 10. That is, under rule 10, an official can be placed under suspension. The appointing authority or any authority to which it is subordinate, or disciplinary authority or any authority empowered in that behalf by the president, the general or special order may place a government servant under suspension. When it will happen? Where a disciplinary proceedings against him is contemplated or is pending, where in the opinion of the authority aforesaid, he has engaged himself in activities prejudicial to the interest of the security of the state, or where a case against him in respect of any criminal offence is under investigation, inquiry or trial. So these are the reasons why an official can be placed under suspension. And here we have to mention that suspension is an executive action whereby a government servant is kept out of duty temporarily pending final action being taken against him for an act of indiscipline, delinquency, demeanor, etc. So, though suspension is in itself not a form of penalty, it definitely constitutes a great hardship for the affected government servant. In that, apart from not being allowed to perform legitimate duties and earn his salaries, and he is paid reduced rates during the period and thus affects him injuriously. So, disciplinary authority should be very cautious in placing the official under suspension. Also, it happens that suspension may also cause a lasting damage to the government servant's reputation, and its stigma is not easily washed away even if he is ultimately exonerated or awarded only minor penalty and reinstated. So, due care should be taken before placing an official under suspension. Then we will see about the rule 11, that is the penalties, major and minor penalties we have seen already. And rule 12 deals with the disciplinary authorities. Here disciplinary authorities, it also deals with the what has to be done by, whether an officer under current duties can exercise the statutory powers or not. Surely he cannot exercise statutory powers under current duties. And this rule deals with the ad hoc disciplinary authority whenever the disciplinary authority himself he becomes a part and parcel of the witness, or he becomes a witness in such a case. Then ad hoc disciplinary authority will be generally nominated. Then rule 14, as you have seen, the procedure for imposing the major penalty, that means issue of charge sheet along with the articles of charge, list of witnesses, list of documents by which it is said to be proved. So these things will be given, and inquiry will be conducted, an inquiry officer will be nominated, and a presenting officer will be appointed by the disciplinary authority, and the charged official is given an opportunity to nominate a defense assistant to present his case before the inquiry authority. And there will be defense witnesses, there will be state witnesses, and the inquiry will go on, and finally the charged official will be submitting his brief or representation, and the presenting officer will submit his brief. Finally, the inquiry authority will submit his brief by marking a copy to the charged official. The disciplinary authority, after sending the IO report to the charged official, the charged official has to submit his representation, if any, to the disciplinary authority, and disciplinary authority, based on the inquiry conducted and the final written statement that is given by the charged official, if any, he will take a final decision and impose the relevant penalty as per rule 14. Rule 16. Rule 16 is basically about the procedure for imposing minor penalties. We have seen there are 4 minor penalties like censure, increments, withholding of increments, withholding of promotions, and reduction to the lower time scale, lower stage in the time scale. So these are minor penalties. For this, the procedure is under rule 16. Normally, an opportunity will be given to the charged official to submit his representation, and normally there won't be any inquiry as it is conducted in rule 14 in the rule 16. But however, in certain cases, that is also possible to there is a possibility for conducting the inquiry in rule 16 also. Rule 17 deals with the communication of orders. That means whatever the orders were issued under penalty, that will be communicated to the charged officer. Rule 18 deals with the common proceedings. If the case is extraneously large and there are many people involved, and proceeding has to be given commonly to all the officials, then a common proceedings will be resorted to. And rule 19 deals with the special procedure in certain cases where you can go without inquiry, and so many other special procedures are available in the rule 19. Rule 22 deals with the appeals, the time frame within which a charged official can appeal, and the time frame within which the appeal should be disposed. These are all dealt in the under this rule. And rule 29 deals with the revision and review of penalty. This is done by the review is done by the President of India. Revision, it can be done after 6 months. Now let us come to the point, that is CCA rules 1965, timelines and periodicities. Actually, the CCA rules basically deals with the timelines on for every specific point. Let us see one by one. An order of suspension made or deemed to have been made under sub rule 1 or 2 of rule 10 of CCS rules CCS CCA rules shall not be valid after a period of 90 days. Hence, it should be reviewed before 90 days. So, any order of suspension should be reviewed before 90 days. Otherwise, it will become invalid. So, that 90 days is the time limit, and you should remember it. Extension of suspension shall not be for a period exceeding 180 days at a time. So, this is regarding extension of suspension. It should not be beyond 180 days at a time. As per CCS CCA rules 1965, if a government servant applies orally or in writing for the supply of statement of witnesses, the IO shall furnish, IO is Enquiry Officer, shall furnish the same not later than 3 days before commencement of examination of witnesses on behalf of disciplinary authority. Here 3 days is important. That means if a government servant has applied orally or in writing for supply of statement of witnesses, the IO should furnish not later than 3 days before the commencement of examination of witnesses on behalf of disciplinary authority. If PO produces new evidence, the inquiry should be adjourned for 3 clear days before production of new evidence, exclusive of day of adjournment and the day on which the inquiry is adjourned. So, whenever there is a new evidence by the presenting officer, then the inquiry should be adjourned. That should be postponed for 3 clear days. That should be before production of the new evidence. That should be exclusive of the day of adjournment and the day on which the inquiry is adjourned. That means clear day gap should be there. The government servant shall appear in person before the IO within 10 working days is with reference to the date of receipt by the IO and not the government servant. The third government servant appointed as inquiry officer should not be more than 70 years of age as on 1/7 of the year of empanelment. So it is 70 years of age. Retired government servant should submit the inquiry report within 6 months from the date of appointment as IO to become eligible for payment of honorarium or remuneration. So that 6 months is important here. Within 6 months he has to submit the bill. Otherwise that honorarium cannot be claimed by him. CO should submit his written brief within 10 days to the IO. The CO should furnish his defense to the disciplinary authority on receipt of IO's report within 15 days. This is the time. As per CCS CCA rules 1965, the time limit for passing the final orders on the IO report is 3 months. Appeal 45 days from the day on which the copy of order appealed against is delivered to the appellant. See here 45 days is counted from the date on which it is delivered to the appellant. Copy of order appealed against is delivered to the appellant. That means it is not when that copy of appeal, it is not when the copy of appeal is booked as registered by the charged official. It is delivered to the appellant authority. An appeal is 45 days from the date on which the copy of order appealed against is delivered to the appellant. That means whenever the charged official receives the order of penalty, from that day onwards it counts for a period of 45 days, and within that 45 days he can appeal. Appellant here means the charged official. The time limit for forwarding an appeal is 45 days from the date of receipt of the appeal. Whenever the appeal is received with the appellate authority, what is the time limit for forwarding the appeal is? The time limit for forwarding the appeal is 45 days from the receipt of the appeal. That means the disciplinary charged official will submit his appeal to the disciplinary authority, and the disciplinary authority will have 45 days of time to forward the appeal to the appellate authority. So the next authority. Time limit for forwarding review petitions addressed to member A, PNT board and petitions and memorials addressed to president is 60 days of their receipt. So the time limit is 60 days. Petitions can be forwarded within 60 days of the receipt. As per CCA rule 1965, the appellate authority can revise within 6 months of the date of order proposed to be revised. Within 6 months, revision can be made. When Election Commission recommends the competent authority to take disciplinary action for insubordination or dereliction of duty by government servant, the competent authority should take action and report to Election Commission within 6 months. So this is also 6 months. When the Election Commission recommends that the competent authority to take disciplinary action against the official for insubordination or dereliction of duty, then the competent authority can take action on the report to the EC within 6 months. So that is such a serious. In case of continuous detention of government servant above 90 days, the review is not necessary for suspension. So that is the case. In case of continuous detention above 90 days, review is not necessary for suspension. In case a government servant continues to be under detention at the time of completion of 90 days of deemed suspension, 90 days period for review will count from the date of government servant detained in the custody is released from the detention, or the date of the fact of his release from the detention is intimated to his appointing authority, whichever is later. So we have seen earlier that detention, in case the government servant is under detention at the time of completion of 90 days of deemed suspension, then 90 days will be counted from the date on which he is released, or the fact of such release is intimated to the appointing authority. Where a resignation has become effective, the appointing authority may permit withdrawal of resignation if the period from the date of resignation became effective and the date of resumption of duty does not exceed 90 days, otherwise the government sanction is necessary. So whenever an official has resigned from service, he can withdraw his resignation and it can be permitted if it is below 90 days from the date of resignation. Otherwise, if it is beyond 90 days, a government sanction is necessary. CCCA rules 1965 in case of suspended government servant. Now let us see what are the compulsory deductions for a suspended government servant. Optional deductions that should not be made. The compulsory deductions are income tax, CGGIS, CGHS, house rent, electricity and water charges, repayment of loans and advances to government. These things are compulsory deductions from the suspended government servant in his subsistence allowance. Optional deductions are, that means a government servant has the option whether to deduct or not. He has an option for PLI, he can reduce it or curtail it. It is up to him. Cooperative credit society loans and GPF recovery on the advance taken. These are optional deductions. Deductions should not be made from the GPF. The deduction should not be made for GPF, court attachments and loss to the government and in the subsistence allowance. A suspended government servant will be naturally given the subsistence allowance, which shall be half of the basic pay and DA. As per CCA 1965, when a government servant is suspended by an authority other than his appointing authority, the suspension is to be ratified within 1 month from the date of orders. For example, in the Department of Post, if a government servant is suspended by an authority other than the appointing authority, the suspension should be ratified within 1 month from the date of orders. A suspended government servant he can act as defense assistant, he can be granted HBA, he can be granted CEA, and he can be given LTC for the family members. To whom LTC cannot be given, but for the family members, leave travel concession can be given. Advance to that effect also for the family members can be given. Then TA for the attending the inquiry, TA for attending the traveling allowance for attending the inquiry also can be given to the suspended government servant. A suspended government servant cannot be granted advance for purchase of conveyance. So he is not allowed to be granted for purchase of conveyance, a motorcycle or cycle, whatever it is, car, and he is not allowed to write or review the affairs of his subordinates. So the performance appraisal cannot be written for his subordinates, and the transportation allowance will not be drawn by him. Here, as far as transportation allowance is concerned, he will not be drawing the transportation allowance, and if you have a doubt whether to what extent the transportation allowance should be given, if an official is suspended in the middle of the month, it will be proportionate amount. So suppose if he attends for 20 days and he was suspended on 21st day, up to 20 days the transportation allowance will be given, and remaining 10 days transportation element will be not granted. The festival advance will not be given. LTC for self will not be given. LTC for family members will be given as we have seen earlier. These are the doubts many people have, so I have given it in a single slide. You can observe. If the termination of proceedings instituted against a government servant is attributable to government servant, the competent authority may allow him to represent within 60 days from the date on which communication in this regard is served on him. Then competent authority will decide to pay or not to pay the pay and allowances on reinstatement after suspension. So here what is the case is that if the termination of proceedings instituted against the government servant is because of the government servant, then the competent authority can allow him to represent within 60 days from the date on which the communication in this regard is served on him, and then competent authority can decide whether to pay the pay and allowances on reinstatement of after suspension. Now some timelines and periodicities exclusively for the Department of Posts. restriction the number of cases under GDS Rule 10 cases and Departmental Rule 14 disciplinary cases. The ceiling on appearing as defense assistant by serving government servant and retired government servant under Rule 10 of GDS Conduct and Engagement Rules, Rule 10 of GDS Conduct and Engagement Rules is the ceiling as defense assistant by serving government servant will be 3 cases at a time under Rule 10 and Rule 14 together. The ceiling on appearing as defense assistants by serving government servant will be 3 cases at a time under Rule 10 and Rule 14 put together. Ceiling as defense assistant by retired government servant, that is 8 cases in a year with not more than 4 cases at a time under Rule 10 and Rule 14. So here for a defense assistant by the retired government servant, total 8 cases can be done by him, and 4 cases it should not be more than 4 cases at a time under Rule 10 or Rule 14. At a time you should have only 4 cases, and in total 8 cases in a year. Again, the ceiling for appointing IP or ASP or inspector post and assistant superintendent of post officers as inquiry or presenting officer and retired departmental officers for appointing as inquiry officer under Rule 10 and GDS and Conduct and Engagement Rules. The ceiling for appointing IP and ASP as IOPO is 10 cases in a year with not more than 2 cases at a time under Rule 14 and Rule 10 together. Total cases is 10 at a time, 2 cases under Rule 14 and Rule 10 together. The ceiling for appointing retired departmental officers as inquiry officers is IO is 8 cases in a year with not more than 4 cases at a time under Rule 10 and Rule 14 together. Procedure for empanelment of retired departmental officers as inquiry officers. This is exclusive for the Department of Post. Circle Office should make an empanelment of retired departmental officers for appointing an inquiry officer to conduct inquiries under Rule 10 of GDS Conduct and Engagement Rules. Circle Office will make available that panel to the respective cadre controlling authority where its offices are located. What is the validity of the panel? The panel of the departmental retired officers created for the purpose of appointing inquiry officers for conducting inquiries under Rule 10 of GDS Conduct and Engagement Rules will be valid for a period of 3 years by Directorate Memo number 16/9/2019. So these are the basically few timelines and periodicities that you have to remember for the examinations. Either it is Inspector Post examination or PS Group B, or it is some KVS principal or vice principal, whatever it is. Please subscribe to Career Post and click the bell icon if you like the video.